Good Monday afternoon. Thank you for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Rena Sargentopoulos. Just in this afternoon, Iran is firing back. Iranian officials say the country fired missiles at several U.S. bases across the Middle East. One of those strikes targeting the Al Udeid base in Qatar, the main base in the country that houses some 10,000 military members and civilians. Right now, President Trump says he is monitoring threats of Iranian retaliation at several U.S. bases in the Middle East. Now, this is video from Doha, the capital of Qatar, and it shows missiles flying overhead, apparently being intercepted. According to Qatari officials, the Iranian missiles was shot down by defense systems, and no casualties are being reported right now. The strikes are in retaliation for U.S. bombings of Iranian nuclear sites this past weekend. Meanwhile, new video today showing the destruction of the most recent Israeli airstrikes in Iran. This is video from north of Tehran, the country's capital. Shortly after the bombings, the Israeli Defense Ministry said it struck the heart of Tehran. And right now, top Trump administration officials insist the U.S. is not at war with Iran, but President Donald Trump says the U.S. could launch more attacks if Iran does not make peace with Israel. Julia Benbrook is at the White House with the latest.
Those around President Donald Trump believe that even though he said there was a 2-week window, that his mind was largely made up for days regarding the decision to take action against Iran. President Donald Trump announced that the United States attacked 3 key nuclear facilities in Iran.
Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror.
During his White House address following Operation Midnight Hammer, with Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth standing behind him, Trump warned that the U.S. could launch more strikes.
If peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill.
While the president says Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been, quote, completely and totally obliterated, a full impact assessment is still ongoing.
Final battle damage will take some time, but initial battle damage assessments indicate that all 3 sites sustained extremely severe damage and destruction.
Trump's senior officials have repeatedly said the mission was not about a regime change in Iran. But in a post Sunday evening, Trump alluded to the possibility, writing, quote, "It's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change?" Israel and Iran have continued to trade strikes. Monday afternoon, Trump is meeting with members of his national security team here at the White House. In Washington, I'm Julia Benbrook.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz posted on X that his public safety team is on high alert for threats to Minnesota. We spoke with a local human rights activist who grew up in Iran. He argues this escalation in the Iran-Israel war comes after years of Iran negotiating in bad faith with the U.S. over developing its nuclear capabilities.
I look at it as something that's a long time coming. There's a difference between Iran as people and a nation and the regime in power as called Islamic Republic. Ultimately, the blame for what happened falls on the shoulders of the Islamic regime.
The Department of Homeland Security is also warning of the possibility of more anti-Semitic attacks here in the U.S. Governor Walz says on social media there's no known threats of any violence in Minnesota at this time, but that he will continue to monitor the situation. New today, a Blaine man is facing federal charges after prosecutors say over a dozen guns he purchased ended up in the hands of criminals and are linked to the shooting deaths of Anaya Allen and Trinity Addison Smith. William Burton is charged with 2 counts of making false statements when purchasing firearms. Prosecutors say he lied about buying the guns for himself and instead was acting as a straw buyer. According to court documents, 41 guns bought by Burton have been recovered by several Minnesota law enforcement agencies from people other than Burton. 2 of those guns allegedly used in the shootings of those children. His next hearing is set in July. Happening right now, northern Minnesota in cleanup mode after strong storms Friday night and reported tornadoes just a day later. The mayor of Bemidji saying every building and home in the city is affected. The National Weather Service now saying top wind speeds were as high as 120 miles per hour this weekend. We traveled to Beltrami County to check in with homeowners and the mayor of Bemidji. Here's Morgan Wolf.
straight-line winds barreled through Beltrami County Friday night.
You can never say, here's a good time for a disaster, but when you have something like this happen and you're having one of the hottest kind of weekends that you've had for sure this summer, you couldn't pick a worse time for that.
Bemidji Mayor Jorge Prince says that there were no major injuries to any residents, but other wounds are visible everywhere you look.
You know, I look at this as a generational type event. I've never seen anything like that in our community, and I know we're going to require more help, more assistance beyond just what our city government can provide.
It's what led to the county declaring a state of emergency.
Oh, geez.
At Sherry Ekstrom's home, even the smallest hands
I should cut that one.
are helping.
Do you want this one? Well, we had been discussing tearing down this tree anyway, so it's like, nature did it for free, sort of.
Sherry says the storm hit hard and it hit fast.
Well, you know, like true Midwesterners, we were on the porch for a while. Of course, when my husband says go into the basement and it's his idea, it's bad. We've got beautiful trees.
When the whistling stopped, her neighborhood was unrecognizable.
I don't know. Sorry.
Used to a certain look, and you know, there's parts of it that don't even look like the community you've known.
Docks in the middle of lakes, roofs missing, not even Paul Bunyan himself was spared.
Grandpa's gonna have to get the rest, okay? I would have rather had the flowers go.
But their spirits, they're intact.
We'll deal. Oh, we got this.
Neighbors helping neighbors,
Ha ha!
pulling them out of this mess.
Beautiful people. That's Bemidji. We are okay. No one got hurt.
Starting tonight, new security measures are taking effect at Boom Island Park following a deadly mass shooting there earlier this month. The Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board says the park entrance road and the parking lot will now close at 9 p.m. Meanwhile, the park will stay open past that time. A mobile camera set up there after the shooting will also remain, and the Park Board's violence prevention team will be patrolling the area. Developing now, Senator John Hoffman's wife, Yvette, is calling for one more attempted murder charge against the suspect in their shooting. In a social media post, Yvette Hoffman said their daughter Hope was lined up with them, quote, execution style, and that she may not have gotten shot because of all the commotion. Yvette also credits Hope's quick thinking with saving more lives after she called 911 and repeated multiple times that her father, who was shot, is a state senator. And now we are learning new details about the targeted lawmaker attacks. Joe McCoy combed through new search warrants, which included new details about text messages that suspected shooter Vance Belter allegedly sent to his family.
BCA search warrants unsealed today reveal numerous new details in regards to Vance Belter, the man accused in the attacks on Minnesota lawmakers. According to these search warrants, inside Belter's home in Green Isle, authorities found 48 pistols, revolvers, shotguns, and rifles, boxes of ammunition, a camouflage suit, a note card with public officials' names on it, multiple computers, and nearly $18,000 in cash. Police say Belter had 12 separate vehicles registered to him at his home in Green Isle. Also, according to the search warrant, Belter's wife told police during an interview that she received a text from Belter at approximately 6:15 a.m. in a family group chat Saturday morning, indicating he was sorry. Federal court papers revealed when Belter's wife was pulled over in Mille Lacs County on Saturday, she agreed to a search of her vehicle, and police found 2 pistols, at least $10,000 in cash, and all of their kids and Belter's passport. In these search warrants, we also learned that Belter had a storage unit on the 4600 block of Lyndale Avenue North in Minneapolis. Inside the storage unit, authorities discovered a duffel bag with 5 body bags inside, gun cases, a pair of pants, gun cleaning supplies, and a gray tarp. In the federal court papers, we learned Belter visited a bank in Robbinsdale on Saturday at 9 a.m. and withdrew $2,200. We also learned that Belter and his wife were, quote, preppers, people who prepare for catastrophic incidents.
Happening on Tuesday, the National Transportation Safety Board will determine the probable cause of the mid-air door plug blowout on a Boeing 737 MAX in 2024. The blowout left a gaping hole in the side of the plane that was more than 16,000 feet in the air. The missing missing piece from the Alaska Air flight was found in an Oregon backyard. If not for a combination of crew skill and having no one seated next to the hole, it could have easily turned into a tragedy. The NTSB will hear the investigation's findings and vote on the probable cause of the incident, possibly answering the question of who was to blame. Stick with us. More news and weather coming up after the break.